Yes, welcome everyone to this morning meeting with the faculty. Today we will have 3 guests with us. It's Vice Dean David Jessusson Nord and two colleagues from the central administration at the university who work with our ranking systems, especially the QS ranking, and that's what we're going to hear more about today. But before we start, as usual, you can ask questions in the chat, and I will ask them to our guests at the end of the meeting. And it's okay to write in Swedish if you prefer that, and I will try to translate as we go along. Okay, and now I hand over, I think, to David.
Yes, so welcome everyone. So today is a topic about ranking, but we will start not with talking about the Faculty of Medicine, but overall what's happening at Lund University when it comes to ranking and why ranking is important. And for that purpose, we have 2 guests, Cecilia Jeppsson and Erika Söderstjärna, and I will immediately actually pass on the word to you, and then I will finish at the end of the session. Thank you.
Okay, well, let's just start quickly with some introductions. Thank you all for having us today. My name is Cecilia Jeppsson, and I work part-time for the Division of Global Engagement with International Recruitment. I also work part-time for the Vice Chancellor's Office on ranking projects. And with me, I have Erika.
Hello, my name is Erika Söderstjärna. I work as a policy officer at the Office of the Vice Chancellor. I lead an analysis group where ranking is involved very much so.
Yes, and we're going to share some slides with you today with an emphasis on the QS ranking, but also giving some background to the work with rankings at the university. So give me a second here. There we go. So first of all, just a quick background here. University rankings are lists that evaluate and compare higher education institutions based on various criteria. And there are tons of ranking organizations out there. The ones that are most well-known are QS, Times Higher Education, and Academic Ranking of World Universities, the RWU ranking. When you look at these rankings, they all have different methodologies for how they assess universities. And we're going to look closer on the QS ranking in a short moment. Just wanted to mention there are tons of different ranking organizations out there looking at different metrics of the universities. So why do we even have to consider rankings? Why do we even talk about rankings? Well, it's fair to say that most of our stakeholders do look at rankings when forming decisions and when forming their perception of a university. Rankings do open doors, not only for students and researchers, but also staff and alumni. It definitely influences perception and reputation of universities. And as already mentioned, they are used by many of our stakeholders when forming decisions, such as partners deciding who to collaborate with, students deciding where to go, etc. I do want to emphasize, though, that university rankings serve as one tool for comparison, and they do, of course, not at all capture the full picture of an institution, but they do actually offer useful insights and facilitate benchmarking across universities. So we find it very important to emphasize that we do not see universities reflecting exactly what the university is all about. The strategic priority for the university management has been, for the last couple of years, increased international impact. And what is that, one can ask? Well, international impact encompasses all efforts that positively strengthen the perception of the university activities beyond Lund University. And this is, of course, where the work with rankings come in, saying that rankings highly affect the perception of the university. So this is an important part of the work, the strategic work with increased international impact. Since around 2020, the university has a so-called ranking group. We are a few people from across the university with different competences working with rankings in different ways. And none of us work full-time with rankings. We all have our other tasks as well. But together we are able to follow rankings and methodology changes, seeing many of the ranking institutions tend to do quite a few methodology changes from year to year, which also can affect the ranking outcomes. And this is important to know. We report data to ranking institutes. We provide internal reports and analysis. We support internal and external ranking communication, and we also manage several ranking projects. As I mentioned, there are a lot of different rankings out there. We do follow and report data to the following QS and Times Higher Education rankings. That is the World University Rankings, their respective subject rankings, the QS Sustainability Ranking, and the QS Europe Ranking. So these are the rankings where we actively report data. We also follow a number of other rankings. We have the Shanghai Ranking, or RWU, as we call it, the Times Higher Education Reputation Rankings. We cannot report any data to that ranking, since it's based only on surveys conducted. We have Times Higher Education Impact Rankings, which is a very resourceful, you have to spend a lot of resources reporting data to this ranking, and only a few universities in Sweden actually do that. We also follow the Interdisciplinary Science Rankings, Leiden and Clarivate's highly cited. Right now, there are a few ongoing ranking projects across the university. As mentioned, Times Higher Education and QS are the two biggest ranking institutes. When it comes to Times Higher Education, we have access to their data points, which is a database where we can look into the data behind the rankings and compare it with peer universities across the world. We also have the QS project, which perhaps some of you are more familiar with, where we have consultants from QS come in doing data analysis for us and also providing consultation. This is an example of what's actually behind the rankings. If we take a look at the QS World University Rankings, on the left-hand side, you can see the indicators forming the ranking. And within brackets, you can see the weighting of each indicator in the ranking. If you take a look at the right-hand side of each pillar, you can also see Lund University's current score in each of these pillars on a range from 1 to 100. So as you can see, we actually perform very well in many of the indicators, such as sustainability, where we almost have a full score, international student ratio, international research network, international faculty ratio, employment outcomes. There are some indicators, though, where there is a lot of room for improvements. The second one, faculty-student ratio, which is striped, is the reason for why we stripe this is simply because it's actually an indicator we can't do very much about. This is the common trend at the Nordic universities, that we have quite a lot of students per faculty staff. So it's difficult for us to do anything about that. However, if we take a look at the three bottom indicators, we have employer reputation, citations per faculty, and academic reputation. And as you can see within brackets, these are also the three most heavy indicators in the rankings, and also room for a lot of improvement. Where do QS actually get their data? That's a good question to ask as well. 45% of the ranking results consist of results from QS global surveys. It's almost half of the ranking results is based on surveys conducted annually by QS. 30% is data submission, which means this is data Lund University actively reports each year to the Ranking Institute. 25% is data coming from Scopus. If we do take a closer look at the global surveys, as mentioned, each year QS conducts surveys. We have the QS Global Academic Survey, weighting 30% in this indicator. And this survey asks academics around the globe the question of which universities do you see are excellent in your specific field? And they can list up to 10 domestic universities and up to 30 international universities in this survey. When it comes to the QS Global Employer Survey, it's sort of the same thing, but rather it asks employers in a recruiting position across the globe, which graduates are you most likely to hire, or rather from which universities are you most likely to hire graduates for your field? So these surveys are very important, and they do provide a lot of the points for the QS World University Ranking. I also want to emphasize that the indicators shown in the last slide vary depending on which QS ranking we look at. So if we look at the QS subject rankings, not the same indicators are part of those rankings, and the weighting is also quite different. Reputation tends to be even a bigger or even a more heavy indicator in the subject rankings. But one can say that reputation is the currency in today's global academy. Reputation is really important. It's what makes us attractive and visible. And it's also something that's important for almost everything we do at the university. Collaborations and strategic partnerships benefit from good reputation, international recruitment, both of students, staff, researchers, proud and influential alumni, enhanced competitiveness in securing external funding, and improved quality in education and research, saying that if you have a really great reputation, you can also attract top talent to your university. So all of these things tie closely to the reputation of the university, which is why it's very important that we understand how we are perceived internationally and by our stakeholders. And reputation and visibility, how is it connected? Well, of course, reputation and visibility are two correlated components where positive visibility strengthens our reputation and strong reputation in turn strengthens our visibility. Reputation is how others perceive our university, our quality, our credibility, the attractiveness of the university, whereas visibility is what makes reputation actually possible to show externally, to spread and to enforce. So the more we are visible in relevant contexts through research, media, collaborations, digital channels, and so on, the more opportunity we have to build a strong reputation. And these are key for our increased international impact. David asked us to also provide a few tips on what researchers could do when it comes to building a stronger reputation. And of course, this is up for discussion. I'm not a researcher myself, so I'm sure there are a lot of opinions about this. But if we talk to QS, if we talk to other universities and stakeholders, some things researchers actually can do is, of course, engage in international collaborations. Definitely something positive, both for visibility, but also reputation building. Attend and present at global conferences, a great way to be visible and showcasing what the university is doing. Maintain a strong online research profile. Use strategic communication to actually tell the world about your research. Use storytelling and focus on research impact. What impact does your research actually serve? Of course, foster stakeholder relationships and publish in reputable journals with high impact factors. Finally, we also want to emphasize that, yes, the reputation indicators in QS are areas where we can improve. Simply because we don't have a full score on reputation, it doesn't mean that we're not doing great things. We're doing a lot of really good things. It's rather a question if we're showing the world what we're doing in a strategic way. And with that, David, the floor is yours.
Wow, that was fast. Okay, nice.
Sorry, very fast.
Yeah, no.
perhaps.
I know I can speak for eons. No, but it's because this is. I will just get up my slides here. Let's see. Let's let that chat and that, and then shift to presenter mode. Yes, and then okay. So do you see my slides? Can someone confirm?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So I come in as Vice Dean International Affairs for Faculty of Medicine here. And I always want to ask the question to myself and also to you, actually. And I'm really glad if you want to comment on this question, kind of what is it that makes us special? Why should a young researcher that we want to recruit choose us? Why should students who are interested in medicine or nursing, physiotherapy, why should they come to us? Why should a guest professor come to us? So why should you collaborate with us? What makes us special? Because there are, just on the THE ranking, more than 1,000 medical faculties. And of course, that's only the ones that have a well-documented reputation who are in the THE, because medicine is all over the world. So probably there's around 2,000 to 3,000 medical faculties around the world. So what is it that make us special? And you have to admit also that if you're a Swedish university, there's something called a Nobel Prize. And a Swedish medical university, that means that you have to have a good answer to the question, what makes us different to the Karolinska? Because at the faculty level, we want to collaborate with institutions, universities that are higher in the ranks than we are. And then we have to explain to them why they should come to us and not to our friends in Stockholm, friendly competitors in Stockholm. And so what do we do at the faculty? What do we do at the faculty to kind of help to spread the word? I will come back soon to kind of the content of the word in a way, what makes us special. Well, first of all, we have just started the international office, has just started working on an international newsletter to partners and alumni to raise awareness of the faculty and that we're actually doing better and better things because Lund University is progressive. I don't think we said that. We're actually doing better and better in the rankings for the past few years. The results are really good. Questionnaire to internal visitors delegation, including if they would be volunteer to answer QS questionnaires, for example. And we're also part of networks where we actually try to volunteer for each other's questionnaires and assessment of the QS. For example, we are part of a network called the GAME, Global Alliance of Medical Excellence. And one of the purposes of that is actually to highlight each other's importance in the rankings, because we are all pretty well ranked, but we all have this feeling that, as Cecilia mentioned, that we deserve better when it comes to their reputation. So it's universities, for example, that in Asia and Australia that have like fantastic citation score. They are super high on the citation score, but they are really low in reputation. And they want to bridge this gap just because they are not well known. Maybe not because they are not in a primarily English-speaking country. They could be in Korea, just an example, one of our network partners. Merch and leaflets to create awareness as well, and create an alumni network in faculty. But of course, the most important thing is to do really good research and excellent education, because this is like the true product. Ranking to me is just a communication measure, actually. And you can argue extensively about how much pseudoscience is in the ranking, but it's still there. And you can see it as a communication measure. So another communication measure really here is to be visible when it comes to the EU and getting European grants and being part of European network grants. So I just want to make an advertisement for something else going on at the faculty, this workshop on October 24, preparing a competitive proposal for Horizon Europe Pillar 2, because you might know that Lund University and Faculty of Medicine are really good at when it comes to other pillars in the EU, like ERCs. We're actually doing super well in Europe. But Pillar 2, here we are not very good. It's other types of more network-oriented grants. So we really want people to kind of still start thinking about those and applying for those, also more directed grants. So have a look at this event. So finally then, so what makes us special? If we go back to this like cliffhanger question, what should we think about? And what do I try to say when I present in university, when I travel on behalf of the faculty? What really makes people tick in a way? So one has to kind of say over and over again that just for people who have never heard of Lund University, one way to, if you're in an environment where ranking matters, and it does matter very much in some places, especially if you work with kind of Asian partners, is that this is Sweden's top ranked full-scale university. I mean, there are narrower specialized universities like the Karolinska and KTH that typically are better ranked, but when it comes to the kind of real full-scale universities, we are top, and there is no question about this. And that's kind of just saying that, I think, makes an impact. Saying, okay, so in Sweden, this is the university. So what? Now come back to the Karolinska question for medicine. So what makes us special? And what really makes us special is the fact that we are this full-scale university. We are on the multidisciplinary front lines. Innovation, working together with other disciplines, and that ranges from kind of humanitarian law and medical ethics on the one hand, working with the philosophers and legal scholars, to the other hand, hardcore technical innovation. And that's what makes us very, very special. And also kind of all this infrastructure we have now with the ESS and Max4, even though, I mean, our footprint at the Max4 is still fairly small. We have a few projects, but I still show images from those projects and a picture of Max4 to show that this is here, this is happening, this is growing, and this is an amazing and very unique infrastructure. So we have this innovation district, and one can also remind people, especially if you go away from Europe, that when it comes to innovation ranking in the EU, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark always tops the list, and we are fairly equal there at the top. And the big innovation districts in Sweden is ours and Mälardalen around Stockholm. And that's also important to know. So we have all these, in our field, all these biotech startups around the university. And that is kind of that is kind of a bit special, actually. It's rare. We take it for granted, but it's really not. So we have these infrastructures. Something nice also, if we start talking about softer values, is to say that we are a campus town. And it's really a very small city with a huge university, and extremely international. And we are very high in the international rankings when it comes to internationalization. You saw the data points that Cecilia showed before. And something else that's beautiful from the medical perspective is that we are very intertwined with healthcare. Something else that we take for granted, for example, is that both in Lund and Malmö, we have the faculty buildings and the students on the hospital campuses. This is not at all the case in many, many other places where you have a faculty of medicine. Typically, they are on the university campus, and then the students travel to teaching hospitals around the city. So just this kind of intermingling that we have, and all the interaction, and you see people, in scrubs eating at our canteen. I mean, it's not completely unique, but it is quite rare. And our teaching methodology, you might be surprised. So I work mainly with now, because of the strategic plan of the Vice Chancellor. So when I go out in the world, I usually go to universities with much better ranking than ours. And still they teach, cathedral style. And having these rooms, for student active learning, team-based learning, even problem-based learning is new to them. And that also makes us very progressive. And I think that's good. That's a good thing to share, because it does confirm people's prejudice about Sweden, that we're a very modern, progressive country. And there is no wrong in kind of confirming this. Because it really, here it's true. Then we can discuss it another. And finally, if you try to recruit young researchers, you may have noticed that we try to put our money for the past 2 years. And that is very, very thought through in recruiting not well-reputed top-notch professors, because they tend to leave after a couple of years and go back to their alma mater somewhere in Germany or UK. But to young researchers, because they stay and start a family. And Lund is, if you look at all other types of rankings for young people and starting family and having kids, Lund is really one of the best places in Europe. But let's go back to the true things, the core values, and why we do all these things, try to get better researchers. Of course, it's to make great science and to change the world to a better place. And when you do this, I would want to stress something in the end that Cecilia also mentioned, the opportunity, never miss an opportunity to co-publish with authors from other countries, because it's so well shown that this takes up the citations of a paper. So if you have like a good scientific reason, and you start hesitantly, oh, should I take in this course or not? It will take another week. Please do it, because it creates a big difference for the citation score and probably then for research quality. Okay, that's it from me as well. Questions?
Yes, thank you, David. I'll put the rest of the guests here so you can see them. So we have we have one question here so far that we can ask. Hold on. I'm curious about what data inform the QS sustainability ranking, specifically if there are sustainability outcome result data that come from us.
Can
you take the question again, please?
I'm curious about what data informs, so what data goes into informing the QS sustainability ranking, specifically if there are sustainability outcome or result data.
Lund University submits 25% of the QS sustainability ranking, and they a lot of the data that goes into the ranking are from official other places. Scopus, for instance, is a big part. The reputation surveys, but also from the World Bank, UNESCO, UN as a whole. So it's built of a lot of many things. And I would say that all the Swedish university I think they will perform better than that they do. For instance, Lund University is placed second in governance. We shared first place last year, but Gothenburg are placed 330. And that is mainly built of things that we ourselves submit. So it's very important that we submit well. And the new ranking, sustainability ranking, will be presented in November, mid-November, is the latest that I heard. That could change.
And you have a fantastic Excel spreadsheet of all the data we report to the sustainability ranking. So if you really want to dig deeper, I'm sure I can share that with you as well. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, I'm actually
there's a lot of
waiting
data.
for. Yeah, I'm waiting and try to calculate for all the data that we submit. I think for 95% we get top scores.
That's very promising. Okay, one other question. There's a lot of focus on QS, but can we do anything with Times Higher Education?
Well, Times Higher Education is a lot more research focused. So this is, I guess, where citations come in even more. When it comes to these surveys, what we can do is to increase our visibility again, because reputation is important in Times Higher Education as well. So visibility, it's really a key thing for both or all rankings, I'd say. Not sure if you agree, yeah.
Yeah, and for Times Higher Education, as well as you said, citations, publicity volume as well. So it's really, really research focus. As David said, try to co-publish internationally. That will increase. And also affiliation. To have your research profile, IDs, look into those. That is also important, so that our publications are notable for Times Higher, to see that they are from Lund.
Mm-hmm. So go back to sustainability. So how much of the sustainability ranking is related to activities in the medical faculty? It seems like the faculty could work more with sustainability. Maybe that's a question for you, David. I don't know.
But I don't know about maybe you know better about that, Erika, kind of what footprint of the Faculty of Medicine, actually.
We are actually looking into that to see. We now have a module in SciVal, so we can look at the impact. For most part of it, they look at the impact that our research have. So I had to get back on that. But all research that we do in sustainability are counted into the ranking. But for some fields, it's even more. But we will get back to that.
And also, I think, yes, of course, the Faculty of Medicine can do more, especially when it comes to the scientific side now, when, of course, it's this type of science doesn't get any money anymore in the US. So there's a gap. So it's a vacuum to step in and the recruitments to do.
But
we'll
I think
get back to the international recruitment soon. Yeah.
A really important thing that you've done at the Faculty of Medicine is actually identify your strengths. Like, why should people come to Lund University to study at the Faculty of Medicine? And I think this is something all faculties have to do as well, to actually be able to explain why. Why are we good?
Final question here, because it's 9 o'clock, but you mentioned alumni. How is the faculty working with this? And I think actually I can answer that.
Yes,
we
please.
We have not worked very much with that previously, but as of the end of this semester, we will whenever someone graduates from the faculty, we will make sure to connect with them and ask them to join our alumni network, and we will also have regular communications with them, like we are going to do with the international newsletter. We will have a newsletter for the alumni and also connect back to the university's alumni network, of course, as well. So we are now starting to build up an alumni network. We hope that that's going to work well. And if you have anyone that you know who's an alumni here, please ask them to contact us, and we will put them on the list, and they can be part of this. Yes, that's the final question, I think, and it's past 9 o'clock now. So thank you, and thank you to our guests, especially for coming and joining us here at the faculty. And we'll see the rest of you next month. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cecilia and Erika. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.